Why, hello there and welcome. This is the second segment of my second YouTube show, and I am here. I am a new progressive YouTuber, and I'm trying to make a difference, trying to build a friendly community, trying to do all that wonderful stuff. So if that's something that you're interested in, make sure you stick around and leave me a like and all that great stuff. We're going to be talking about the Trump classified document case. That is the segment for this episode, for this video right here. And yeah, I got a lot to say about this one. It's kind of ridiculous that this is all going down this way. I feel like it just kind of shows how preferential our justice system is, but we will get into that. First, let's talk about what is the classified documents case. So the classified documents case is one of the series of indictments that were brought against Donald Trump to try to hold him accountable for quite a few crimes that he has committed. And honestly, he's committed more, but these are just the ones that we are trying to hold him accountable for right now. Specifically, this case is about crimes that were committed in relation to classified documents. So our government has a classification system for national security and all that great stuff. And as it turns out, presidents aren't allowed to just take whatever they want. They're not allowed to just have documents, and they're not allowed to just take them, right? And that's exactly what Trump did. When he left his presidency, he took a lot of documents with him and just took them to Mar-a-Lago, took them to places where he was living, Bedminster, all that stuff, whatever, and tried to just shove them in bathrooms, hide them, and all sorts of stuff. If you haven't heard reporting about this, if you haven't looked into the story, it's pretty wacky if you look into the details about how all of this went down. But essentially, Trump took the documents, lied about it, refused to give them back, hid them from them, and overall, it's just been a mess. I mean, there are still documents that are missing to this day, and these are national security secrets that Trump could have been selling to the Saudis, or just who knows, Russian spies could have had access to this stuff. It's overall a huge train wreck. And honestly, the primary part about this is that Trump was not cooperative. He was trying as much as he possibly could to hinder this process because he felt like the documents were his. So that's what happened. And in response, the acting attorney general, Merrick Garland, put forward a special prosecutor, appointed him, who then brought all these charges against Donald Trump. Now, this case is being prosecuted by Jack Smith, but the judge in charge of this case is actually a Trump-appointed judge. The judge that was put on this case is Eileen Cannon, and she has done more than a couple things that are obviously preferential to Trump, and it's pretty infuriating, to the point where I heard other people calling for her to resign from this case, calling for her to excuse herself from this case, or recuse herself, or whatever the actual term is. And the fact that that didn't happen is kind of bad. I think that Jack Smith, should have taken more action to try to prevent something like this happening. But here we are. I guess we got to give Donald Trump every benefit of the doubt. We got to give, him every little bit of leeway, because we know if we don't, he will rage like the baby that he is. So this case was already viewed as a rather treacherous endeavor due to the appointment of the judge being a Trump appointed judge. And we officially have all of our concerns validated because, as it turns out, the judge has dismissed the case. She's just decided that this case is not appropriately brought forward to the court, and it's gone. It's going to be gone. Now you may be wondering, why? How is this even possible? How was this judge able to throw out this case? Are they even allowed to do that? What's the justification? And that's what we're going to jump into right now. So as you can see in this article, federal judge dismisses Trump classified document case over concern with prosecutor's appointment. We have a picture here. You can see these are right here, classified documents just in a bathroom. And that's one of many images of the ludicrous way in which these documents were stored and hidden from, people. So the federal judge, that's Eileen Cannon, presiding over the classified documents case of former President Donald Trump in Florida, dismissed the prosecution on Monday, siding with defense lawyers who said that the special counsel who filed the charges was illegally appointed. The decision by U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon brings a stunning and abrupt conclusion to a criminal case that, at the time it was filed, was widely regarded as the most perilous of all the legal threats that the Republican former president confronted. I mean, this is so clear cut. These are illegal. These are classified documents in a bathroom. And it's shocking. And it's this is obviously wrong. This is obvious. There was obvious criminal intent here. And the fact that he obstructed getting the documents back is just even worse. Trump faced dozens of felony counts accusing him of illegally hoarding classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago estate. in Florida and obstructing FBI efforts to get them back. So defense lawyers had filed multiple challenges to the case, including a legally technical one that asserted that special counsel Jack Smith had been illegally appointed under the Constitution's appointment clause, which governs the appointment of certain government positions, and that his office was improperly funded by the Justice Department. So essentially they're trying to say that like this appointment is not valid, and they're trying to say that, you know, because he's being funded by the Justice Department, which is run by a Biden administration, that it's all a bunch of nonsense. But, you know, Cannon, whose handling of the case had drawn scrutiny since before the charges were even filed, agreed, writing in a 93-page order, the framers gave Congress a pivotal role in the appointment of principal and inferior officers. That role cannot be usurped by the executive branch or diffused elsewhere, whether in this case or in another one, whether in times of heightened national need or not. Smith's team had vigorously contested the argument during hearings before Cannon last month, and even told Cannon that if she ruled in the defense team's favor, the proper correction would not be to dismiss the entire case. So if you can't tell just by me reading a little bit of that article, this is obviously politically motivated, and she just essentially decided to take whatever argument she could from the defense and use that as a reason to drop the entire case. This is obviously preferential treatment. This is so ridiculous. Like, the prosecution even said that if this is like to be accepted as an argument by the, you know, from the defense team, by the judge, the proper course of action is not to dismiss the entire case. It probably would be to find an appointment that would be whatever constitutional according to this whatever thing. But I have a feeling that this was not really a strong legal argument, and it was simply accepted because Judge Cannon is obviously not impartial and should have recused herself from this case in the first place. Now, personally, I find this all rather shocking. I think that it's really disturbing to see how preferential the justice system is. We have a two-tier justice system, and people that are the elites of our country or whatever, they just do not play by the same rules as all of us. And this is just one of those examples as to how they don't play by the same rules. I mean, like, it's just so obvious that this is preferential treatment. I mean, this judge literally owes her job to the former president that is being prosecuted in her own courtroom. I mean, if you can't see how that would be biased for her to reside over this case, I mean, I don't understand that. It's shockingly obvious that she's making decisions for the sake of someone who benefited her. And if we lived in a country with a system that was actually about, you know, the rule of law and stuff like that, then we would not be seeing any of this nonsense happen. This case would be moving forward as it's supposed to be moving forward, and we would see what the results of that case would be. So that's what's going on. The case has been dismissed. It's dead in the water. It's gonzo. It's done. That's it. That's all she wrote. That's the end of it. And that's pretty disappointing, right? Well, there is just a glimmer of hope still left, and I would not put much stock into this hope, but we can have a little bit of hopium as a treat. So I'm going to read a little bit from this article right here. Judge Eileen Cannon ruled that special counsel Jack Smith's appointment breaches two structural cornerstones of our constitutional scheme because Congress did not authorize his appointment or funding. The decision, a major victory for Trump on the heels of the Supreme Court decision that broadened the scope of presidential immunity, not only sidelined the former president's document case, but could also upend the long-standing practice of appointing special counsels that independently to conduct investigations and bring charges. Special prosecutors like Smith have been the norm for decades, said law professor Bennett Gershman. It's never been held by the court in any of these cases that the special prosecutor had to be first created by Congress before the president. A spokesperson for the special counsel said the Department of Justice has authorized an appeal for the ruling, which could trigger a lengthy process that could bring Cannon's decision all the way to the Supreme Court for review. I'm sure that Jack Smith will seek an expedited appeal, said former prosecutor Josh Naftalis. This is probably another Supreme Court case for better or for worse. And if you have been paying attention to the Supreme Court lately, then that should not make you feel very hopeful at all that this will probably end up in front of the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court has been incredibly preferential to Trump. I mean, these conservative justices on the Supreme Court are unhinged. Like, the Supreme Court is essentially just a right-wing extremist group at this point that is just forcing law into the land that is not popular with literally a single person. The really bad news about all of this is that even though it's going to get appealed, and even though that could have it go all the way up to the Supreme Court. Maybe the Supreme Court will still allow this case to be prosecuted, but it just really, I do not feel very hopeful about any of this. And the fact of the matter is that we're not going to see anything about this for a long time, because now it's just going to be more bureaucratic processes layered on top of more bureaucratic processes. And who knows by the end of this if the Supreme Court will even rule that this should go forward. I mean, like, we just have no idea what they're going to do. It's a complete wild card situation. Apparently, they feel that the president can order assassinations by the SEAL Team 6, and there's presidential immunity there. You can just do all that, and that's crazy nonsense. So if the Supreme Court's willing to say that, then who knows what they're willing to say. But yeah, that's the reporting for this segment. The classified documents case against Trump has been dismissed entirely, and like, this is like the strongest case against Trump. Like, yeah, we had this porn star case or whatever, and yes, he is a convicted felon, but people do not view a porn star case the same way that they view like withholding classified documents and potentially selling national secrets to foreign actors and stuff like that. Like, that's treasonous shit right there. Like, that's what that is. And I just, oh my goodness. So yeah, this is all very frustrating, and it just feels like, again, Trump's got his way of wiggling out of stuff. He's got like luck on his side. It just seems like things tend to work in his favor, and it's really frustrating because this case should definitely be put forward against him. But yeah, that's going to bring us to the end of this story, the end of the second segment. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, make sure to leave a comment telling me what you think about this classified documents case, of whether you think that the appeal will go up to the Supreme Court, what you think the Supreme Court will say, all that wonderful stuff. And make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're looking forward to more political content from a progressive YouTuber like me. I will be here every Wednesday and Saturday putting out videos, trying to talk about what I think is important, trying to give my takes on stuff, trying to educate, inform, do all that wonderful stuff to make a difference here, because this upcoming election cycle is crazy massive. There is so much going on with it. I am terrified every single day thinking about what will transpire here in November and what that means for the future of our country, the future of the world, frankly. I mean, with climate change stuff happening, if we get a second Trump term, we might as well give up on like Florida and California. Like, we are going to have like the bottom southern states completely flooded by climate change. We're going to have summers that are so like disgustingly hot that people like won't even be able to go outside without dying. I mean, that's already happening. People are already dying because of heat. But it's just like the climate change stuff. We are so close to the cutoff point of doing anything to save the world that like a second Trump term could spell absolute disaster for the entire world in terms of climate change. Like, this is actually apocalyptic level stuff. But anyway, that's kind of like outside of this scope of this video. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap that up here. And yeah, I will catch you in the next one if you decide to follow on to the next segment. And yeah, until the next one, drink some water.